Welcome back to the channel, and the first thing I want to do is say thank you for all the ones that are leaving me comments and subscribing and sharing these videos. That is really encouraging. Now in this video, you saw me draw this before using 2D AutoCAD as well as using 3D AutoCAD, but in this video we're going to take a look at doing this in Inventor. Now I will tell you I have a video coming up next where I'm going to start doing some things that have some assembly parts to them. So that's where Inventor will really shine for you, and you're going to see the major difference of that. So that should start coming up after I do these videos. But this one should be nice, short, and sweet. So let's jump over to Inventor and get started. Okay, so the first thing we have to always decide is if we're using metric or we're going to be using inches and feet and things of that nature. I do believe this drawing is created in metric, but I can use inches if we want to assume that they're drawn in inches. But for our sake, we'll just keep them as metric. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go to the standard millimeter IPT. Go ahead and hit create, and then we're going to give Inventor a little bit of chance to load up everything. Okay, so once it's started up, we're going to click on the Start 2D Sketch button here, and then we're going to decide which way I want to orient this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start creating this on the XY plane, since that'll create my front view, and you can see that that does correlate with the front view here. So let's click here, and then kind of very similar to what we did in AutoCAD, except we don't have to be that exact here in the beginning. We could just kind of sketch out this shape, right? So what I'm going to do is just kind of, give it some rough sketches, and you can see that I'm lining up these bottom ones. So that's that dotted line there. I'll go across here, and I'm just trying to make sure I avoid any of these other kind of dotted lines linking it back to something else, because it is creating a constraint there. Okay, so I want these two lines to be equal to each other, so I'm just going to hit the equal button on my keyboard, or you can come up here and select this icon. Both of them will do the exact same thing. I'll select this line and then this one. And now these two lines are equal to each other. Let's go ahead and put some other dimensions on. So I'll just go to dimension. And remember, the first dimension that I put on my drawing is going to scale it up to that. So I'm going to select here. And once I type in this dimension, which in our case will be 100, it's going to automatically scale everything up around it. So the whole entire drawing will scale to that. Let's go ahead and finish putting our dimensions on. This is going to be 30 here. And then this number here should be 10. And it's always going to be missing two more dimensions on this level, right? Because I need to reference it somehow to my center point here. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'll select the dimension here. Down to this center point, I'll place that dimension here. And then I'm just going to make it half of this number. So I'll select that dimension. You can see that that's D1 and divide it by 2. I'll do that exact same thing with this 100 degrees. So I'm going to select this line here, that center point, come here and place the dimension. I'll select the 100 and divide that by 2. Now once again, the benefit of doing that is that if any of these numbers change, this will always be set to that number, right? And I do need one more dimension here. I didn't tell it the height here. So let's go ahead and put that dimension on now. So that dimension here is 10. Okay, so everything now is all fully constrained, and it should tell me that here in the bottom, and it does. Let's go ahead and hit the finish sketch. Zoom out. I want to extrude this the width of our shape, right? So that width is 60. So when I go to the extrude command, it should automatically select that profile since it's only one profile. I'm going to make it symmetrical, and then I'll give it the number of 60. Now this is different from other programs where they will make you divide this number by 2. But in Inventor, it automatically assumes that if you're going to make that symmetrical, I'm going to give you 30 this way and 30 that direction. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the OK button. I'm going to select this face. I'm going to select the sketch. So I'm going to create a sketch on that one. I'll start with a rectangle. And I will use I'm trying to think, should I get away with a 2-point one? Or the center with 2 points? Yes, I think I might be able to get away with that one. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it, and you can see that I'm tracking right in line with this center here. So I'll click here and come down and place my dimension. Now we're going to line these up, right? And I'll use the vertical constraint to make sure that that happens. So I'll click on vertical, I'll select that point and then my center point here. That'll keep them in line. The width of this is 30. So I'll select that dimension, make it 30. And then I need a height from here, right? So I'm going to select a dimension from this line to this very bottom. And that needs to be 15. Now it's missing one more dimension and it needs this height. Remember that this number has to be greater than or equal to the distance from this line to that face here. Now, one of the practices that I use, and just to make sure that I don't ever mess this up or if anything changes, is that I will always put a dimension from this top line to this face. And then I will give it some arbitrary number. Let's make it 10 in this case. So that way, anytime that I go ahead and I edit this, it's going to always be above that, and that shape will automatically cut through it. Now, to make my job a little bit easier here on the next round is that I'm going to go ahead and make both of these construction lines. So I'm going to hit the escape button. Let's go ahead and select that green line there. I'll hold down the control button and select this green line, and then I'll make it construction. The benefit of doing that is that it leaves it only one sketch for Inventor to choose. So when I go to the extrude step, you're going to see only this will select. If I left these lines there, you can see that that line will cut this into two profiles. So then I would have to select one or the other or both. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit the finish sketch button, extrude, and like I said, it should automatically be able to pick that. Only thing we have to do now is sell it to cut and send it through all. Once I hit the OK button here, should be done, right? All right, next, let's go ahead and create the profile that's sitting right up here on the top. So I'm going to select this face here. Go ahead and select that. And then we're going to go ahead and start that sketch. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with a circle. And I'll just place this circle above it here. And then let's make another circle right on the inside of it. And I'm going to do all of my work up here before I actually put it on my surface here. So I'm just going to track off of that center, go straight across, and then let's trim it. So we're going to do all of our kind of normal stuff that we would normally do. Now, these may not be collinear with each other because I did trim them, so that's why you're seeing that. So I'm just going to make sure that those are collinear. So I'll select collinear, this line, and this line, so that'll keep those together. So if I move one, the other one should move. Now I also want this line to be in line with that. That's going to be a coincidence constraint, so I'll select this line here and that endpoint. So now those two will stay in line with each other. Let's go ahead and put our dimensions on. So we're going to have a dimension. We'll go ahead and click here. That has a radius of 25. Let's do another radius here, and that is 22.5. Alright, so now we're ready to locate this where it needs to be. So the first dimension I'll do is from this line here to that center line, and that's going to be 25. Right? The last dimension I need is to bring this down to here. So we can use a dimension and put a dimension from here to here, and that'll make it a 0 dimension. Or I can use a coincidence by selecting this endpoint with this endpoint. Oh, and it looks like it gave me a mistake. Let me escape out of that, and I don't know why it would give me a mistake on that, but I'll try that once again. Let's see, coincidence, endpoint here, endpoint here. Yep, for some strange reason, does not like it. So we'll go with our first option here. So let's go a dimension from that line there to this endpoint and just make it a 0 dimension. Okay. It is fully constrained. Everything is ready to go. I can look here at the bottom. Just for good practices, I will usually put that on the construction layer, but in that one it has no relevance over, creating a different profile. All right, let's go ahead and hit the finish sketch. Let's go ahead and extrude this. We're going to send this a distance of 25. Let's see, nope, 15. And I'm going to change the direction of it. Go ahead and hit OK. Now we have one or two choices here that we can do. We can either go around to this other side and create that again by doing all of those steps again, or we can rotate this shape, right? If we're thinking things symmetrically, we have a center axis that's running right through the middle here, and that's going to allow me to have a benefit of rotating this. So let's see if we can get that to work. So I'll choose the circular. Now it's asking me for what feature. Well, that happens to be the last feature I created. Then I'll come to the axis, right? So where's the axis of revolution I need to go around? If I look at my UCS, you'll see that I have the y-axis. So underneath my origin, I'll go ahead and choose y-axis, right? Now you can see that this thing's spinning around and it's making it 6 of them, right? Let's change that number to 2. And you can see on my screen now that I have just one shape here and one shape here. If that's what I like, go ahead and hit OK. And now you have both of those shapes, right? Super easy if you can kind of look at it and you can see the shapes. Last thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put those fillets on those. So let's go to fillet. Make sure we got our radius set to 15. Go ahead and click those two corners. Hit OK. And now let's go back and take a look at our shape. Alright, so we have it in the correct orientation, and that's kind of the way I like to start it. It looks exactly like how the drawing is going to look. So remember, we have to save this in order to make a drawing, and it's easier to do it now. But if you go ahead and create the drawing, it's going to ask you to do it either way. So I'm just going to do a Control S, or you can select the icon here at the top. So Control S. I'm just going to name it as example. So I'm just going to overwrite this one. Example 1 says yes. Do I want to replace it? Perfect. I can look down here at the bottom. It says example 1. Let's go ahead and start a drawing. So I'll select the new icon here. I'll come down to where it says ANSI millimeter IDW. Let's go ahead and create that. And like we did here in the beginning, we got to give Inventor a little bit of time to load all of the stuff that it needs to load. Once again, while it's doing this, I'm going to give another thanks to everyone that are watching these videos and that are leaving me comments, as well as like and subscribing. You know, if you don't want to subscribe, the easiest thing you could do is just hit that like button for me, and that helps me out a lot. Alright, so we can choose what size drawing we want to do it. I don't think I've ever used a D size on any of our examples before, but I'll go ahead and use one here just to show you kind of the difference of what might happen, right? So if we're going to use a D size drawing, remember that there's nothing really different. The only difference that we have to do is learning to adjusting the scale. Let's go ahead and get rid of this title block here. And I'll go ahead and bring in my drawing, right? So I'll bring in the base. And you can see the size of the base if I bring it in at 1:1, right? So if I zoom this up and make it 3:1, it's 3 times as big. Let's go ahead and hit OK here. Right? And it does exactly the same thing. But if I choose to make this a B size drawing, so let's go ahead and edit sheet 1. So I'm just going to select it and right click on it and go to edit. And I said, hey, make that a B size, right? Now hit OK. You're going to see that now this 3:1 is super big compared to the other one. So don't get caught up on what size title block it is and things of that nature. The principles are going to all act the same. It's going to be the scale that's going to drive your drawing no matter what. So whatever size that your typical size you're going to use, you know, the process will still be exactly the same. So in our case now, if I use this as a B size, I need to scale this down, right? So I need to bring it back down to, you know, maybe 1:1 or some of that nature. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue where we've left off at. I'll select this view here, go to project, go ahead and project my top view, right side view, and here's my isometric. Once I'm done clicking, we'll right click and hit create. Alright, so all of the rest of the stuff that we normally do, it kind of acts the same, and I know you've seen me do this many a times before, so this shouldn't actually take us that long to do. But if I select on the annotate tab here, and then I'm just going to select my center marks, go ahead and select here and here, and hit escape. Now we can customize these a little bit, so I can drag this down and kind of, you know, play with this and manipulate it how I need to manipulate this one. Likewise on this one, I'll bring it down. Okay, and I gave my center marks here. I'll come up here to the top, pick my bisecting ones, and it's going to be here and here. Same on this one, so here and here. Alright, the dimensions, I usually like to adjust my style at the end, so I'll just hit D, but I can automatically just come up here and select this as well. So D, go ahead and select from here to that endpoint here. Go ahead and place my dimension. Now remember that this is opposite of AutoCAD, right? So the first side of where I pick it is where it's going to put it at, as opposed to being the last area or last point that I select. Meaning that I want my dimension to be on the outside here. So when I go here to here, I'm expecting that dimension to be on the left side. If I did it the opposite direction, that dimension is going to go to the right side, right? Now just keep in mind that it really don't matter in the grand scheme. Yes, I can come back and I can move this and do that later, but it'll just speed up your keystrokes, right? So if you remember that little rule of it automatically goes to the side that you select first. So I'll click here, and it'll place that dimension here. Okay, let's go ahead and keep finishing these dimensions. And I always like to keep things in line if I can. Let's go ahead and keep doing some more dimensioning. So here and here. That dimension needs to be on the outside, so I'll pick over here to the right first, come up. And likewise here. And I do that just in case, because sometimes the dimensions like these will fit. Sometimes they won't, right? Another thing you may have seen me do is that my dimensions are automatically going, and it's mainly because I have one setting turned off, and I'll show you that here. So if I go and I place, better yet, let's escape out of that. Let's double click on this dimension here. This box here is checked, right? So if you have this box checked, and I'll show you what it's going to do. Hit OK. And I go to start creating dimensions. I'll go and create this 30 dimension between here and here. I'll go up and place this dimension. Now after I left click and place that position, it's going to automatically come up in with this box. So that's going to be one step I have to go and finish every time. So I'll go, okay, good, I'm done with that one. I'll go to my next dimension between here and here. Go ahead and place that dimension, and then the box comes up again. Well, that annoys me, so a lot of times I'll turn that off until I'm ready to deal with it at the end. So that's one of the reasons why you see me kind of speeding through some of these dimensions rather quickly. So just turn that off and it will make your life a little bit easier as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and finish putting these dimensions on. So I have a dimension from here to here. This actually should be a reference dimension. And then we have a couple of dimensions here at the top. Okay. Like I said, I always say my fixing the style of it at the end. So I'll knock out as many dimensions as I can. Okay, so we have all of our dimensions created, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at our style. So we're going underneath manage and then hit the style editor. And once again, depending on how fast your computer is, this may take, a couple of minutes. Hopefully it shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes, but it does have to load some things here in the background. And what we're going to automatically do is that, what you should automatically kind of train your mind to know is that if you're using the millimeter, it's going to default to the default standard anti-millimeter. So that's the exact same thing that I selected in my title block, or when I went to go and choose which style of drawing that I was going to make. Alright, so underneath the units, let's go ahead and get rid of those zeros that are behind, so we don't want those to be displayed. Underneath the alternate units, we typically don't have to do anything here. Underneath our display, once again, all of this should be standard. The text is going to be the place where we're going to start making some adjustments. So I want my horizontal dimensions to stay horizontal. I want my angled dimensions to stay horizontal as far as the text. And I want my vertical dimensions to be horizontal as far as the text goes, right? Everything else in here is typically the same, and I shouldn't have to adjust any of these other things. So once I hit the save and close button, all these dimensions should update, which they did, right? Last step that I need to do is go ahead and double click on these, and now I will edit these individually, right? So I can go ahead and come to the text option here, hit the enter button, and then type in 2 places. And we can kind of continue doing that on all of these. I wish there was a fast way of, multiple selecting these and typing in 2 places. And if anyone knows how to do that, please let me know down there in the comment if there's, one quick way of doing this part. But at least I haven't found out a way of doing that yet. All right. And now a couple of these dimensions need to be, look like we did forget one dimension here. Let's just hit D and go right across here. All right. So a couple of these dimensions need to be referenced. So I'm just going to double click here. I'll go to my precision and tolerance, and then I will find reference. Likewise here. I'm going to give it a shot here. Let's see. And as far as I know, I don't think I can do this, but so if I select both of them, I don't see where I can edit them both. Nope. Okay. Yep, thought I knew something there, but I guess I did in this case. So we're just going to do both of these as reference dimensions. Okay. And now if we take a look at our drawing, it should be done. It's all dimensioned, and it's super easy. Now we can change the shading and do all that other wonderful stuff on here, but you can see that here in Inventor, we can get things done a lot faster. And I want to remind you that in the upcoming videos, I'm going to try to do more assembly stuff. And that goes for 2D AutoCAD as well as 3D AutoCAD. So the huge benefit of these assemblies, this is where Inventor and SolidWorks and NX and programs like that really shine. Inventor, it does shine in these simple little parts of that nature, but when you get to complex things and you want to show maybe some motion or maybe different variations of something with different angles, this is where these programs are really super helpful and useful. And also on this one, it's super beneficial that if I wanted to change this number to maybe 45 in between there and increase this, there's nothing going to be faster than doing this in one of these programs. And in AutoCAD, it would take me a little bit of work to do to get that to adjust that quickly. All right, but enough of this. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and once again, I know I can't help to say it, but I want to send a special thanks for anyone that's have recently subscribed. And if you like these videos, please come back and watch more. And if you got a suggestion for me, please leave it in the comment below. I look at them every day, and I'll be more than happy to help you out or try to alleviate some confusion if that's the angle to go. And I do believe that sometimes questions help me learn things better too. All right, so until the next video, thank you for watching.